All right, 206. So obviously we ended up kind of out of luck today with class because of the power being out. So I'm making this small video about what I was going to be covering today, which basically covers the other way of creating a drum beat in Logic or another component for writing drum beats. Oftentimes my drum beats end up being a mixture of both MIDI instruments like Ultrabeat and the drum machine and audio files that are in audio channels. So that's what I'm mostly going to explain today. And also talk about something called the global tracks, which can help you put both of your drum beats in the same project, but have different tempos and that kind of stuff. So I have uploaded this folder to start off with for both Wednesday and Friday's lessons today. And this is a folder of drum samples for you to download and use if you'd like to use it. It's a good source for just drum samples. It's individual drum sounds, kick drums, hi-hats, snare drums. And so we're going to use those to build a drum beat for today's lesson. So you Wednesday guys, obviously we talked today, and you're missing this lesson that I'm giving Friday, but this is how we're basically making it up, okay? So let's go over to Logic and talk about the global tracks to start with, okay? So the way the global tracks work is they are tracks that can be that are overarching tracks for the entire project, okay? And I can access them through this little tiny pull down menu right here, okay? When I pull this down and open the global tracks, you can see I have arrangement, I have markers, I have time signatures, and tempo. So these are all things that I can change and use. One of the most useful I find are the markers. So if I click in here, for instance, and grab the pencil, I can make a marker here, rename this, intro, and then maybe at bar 5, using the pencil, I have another one that I'm calling verse 1, right? If I wanted, for instance, to do something like change the colors of these, I can actually use Option C to open the color palette, and then I can click on these and make them different colors. So that's kind of where the colors come from in Logic. But this is a really great way of being able to navigate in a project and know where you are based on whatever you're doing, right? I can also dynamically do mixed meter. So imagine I'm writing a piece that's in 4/4 and 3/4, and it's alternating time signatures. This is something that is possible by doing something like this, right? And now you'll see every measure right now, the first measure is in 4/4 time, the second measure is in 3/4, then 4/4, then 3/4, so on and so forth. And I can do this throughout the entire project if I want to. So global tracks can be really useful for stuff like that. I write a lot of music with mixed meter, so this is something that I do all the time. And then the last thing that I really wanted to show you, because it relates to this assignment, is the tempo, okay? So you can see down here we have tempo, and right now it's set to 120. Now the really nice thing about this is that I'm able to, so imagine my first drum beat is going to be the first 17 measures, right? Because it's actually 16 measures, so it's going to go to bar 17. And maybe then what I do is I put my second drum beat at measure 25. But at 25, I want the second drum beat to be at quarter note equals 80 instead of 120, okay? So what I can do is I can just go down here at measure 25, click on the line, add a node. I might want to zoom in here and get this in the right place. And I can take this down to 80, okay? I can just keep dragging till it hits 80 and then drop. And now, basically, I'm able to basically go from quarter note equals 120 to quarter note equals 80 and have two different drum beats in different tempos in the same Logic project, okay? And, what I would suggest is that you have, like, maybe your first drum beat, you have a bunch of tracks at the top, and then your second drum beat is another group of tracks down at the bottom, right? So maybe your first drum beat is your MIDI instruments, the second one is the audio, okay? So let's talk about bringing audio files in then and creating a drum beat like this. So first of all, what I need to do, and this will bring up another subject, is I can just bring audio files over. So I'm going to grab some audio files. In fact, I'm going to go to the desktop and I'm going to use those same audio files that I sent you. So I go to, not that one, drum samples, okay? So I gave you a huge mix of all sorts of kind of different stuff. I have snares, clap sounds. There's a bunch of different, just a bunch of different stuff for you to play around with. Be aware too. I'm sorry, I should have gotten rid of these, but don't use these REA peaks files. I can't even remember. I think that's related to Reaper actually. It's a Reaper analysis file. So obviously that's not going to work. You want to use the ones that say .wave. Okay. So we have some hi-hats. Okay. We have some snare drums. Right. We have some kick drums down here. All right. And then at the bottom here, I have some reverse cymbals, which I'll talk about later. And then also just a bunch of synths. So these are individual sounds of synthesizer sounds, and you can use them however you want. But I just put them in there as maybe a source for rhythm or whatever. So I'm just going to then start with my kick drum. All right, let's just go with this first one and drag it down here. And I'm just going to drop it. Okay, I can drop it on bar 1. So let's talk now about the way your audio files need to kind of sit. Okay, obviously you want them to be you want them to start on the beats. Okay, and notice if I drag this around, it kind of magnetizes towards these lines, which are the beats. Okay. Now, the way this is set up right now in Logic is that I'm using what's called smart snapping. All right. And that means based on how far I zoom in and out, Logic is going to automatically try and lock to beats in the measure. All right. So you'll notice that my audio file is just a kick drum. It sounds like a kick drum, right? And now if I wanted to, if I want to put a kick drum on every beat, for instance, maybe I'm making a club beat of some kind, I can literally just drag and drop these onto the measures, okay? Or onto the beats of the measure. So maybe I'm just doing this, maybe I'll do at the very end here, right before we go back, I'm going to do a really shortened kick that will give a specific sound. And listen to how this sounds. That sounded a little funky. It's because it's going back to the beginning. Okay. Not very smooth. Let me actually just move this to this beat here. Notice I'm moving everything based off of the grid that I'm seeing. Okay. I'm also here maybe I'll grab the fade tool and fade this a little bit because it sounded like that was popping right there and I want to avoid that. Okay. So maybe I'll do several of those actually. I'm going to grab this again and move it to the end of beat 3. Okay. So, sorry, the end of beat 2, right before beat 3. So remember, a 4-bar phrase. Oh, I made a mistake. I forgot that I left this tempo in here, these tempo changes. I don't want that. I want it to be in regular 4/4 time. So let me put that back to 4/4. Let me scoot this over. All right. And then we'll do your classic 4 on the floor, kick drums on the downbeats. Okay. Is that right? Just need to zoom in here to make sure these are lining up. So that one isn't lined up. This one needs to be on this measure here. And that's going to be on that beat there. Okay. And then, and then we have the same problem here. So delete this, scoot this over to the 3rd beat, and give this here. Okay. So now this should sound right. There we go. Okay. So I've just added my kick drums. No big deal. Pretty easy to do. They're on every beat. Now I want to add a snare. So obviously I'm going to go in and grab a snare. I could just, oh, those are the reverse snares. We don't want that. We want these. Maybe that one. Okay. And I'm just going to drop it right here for now. And then obviously I can zoom in on this and put this where it needs to be. Remember we talked about 2 and 4, right? So remember, I don't know why some of these samples have really long tails on them. They're not necessary, those long tails. But you can see now in measure 1, this is beat 2 because, right, beat 1 is the downbeat. Beat 2 is here. Beat 3 is here. Beat 4 is there. Then measure 2, okay, and so forth. So anyway, so there's just so much I can do here, but I have this rhythm. Now I'm going to just take this and copy it, right? And I'm going to copy it onto every beat. Every bar, beat 2 and beat 4. Okay? And, you know, again, I might add a little fill at the end of my 4-bar phrase. So here, maybe I'll do this. So I added an extra one, so listen to what we get. Okay? Now, notice one thing that's already happening badly. We're clipping badly, right? We're getting +5. I saw a +6 a second ago. So these are full audio files, so they really need to come down to make this stop clipping even more. Okay? So there we go. There's my little 4-bar phrase. And then the last component, of course, that I'm going to add is a hi-hat, right? So the hi-hats will go on another channel. So I'm going to use a mixture actually of 2 different hi-hat channels. So, and it's just for variation. So let's grab that hi-hat. I'll drop it down here. And then grab another hi-hat and drop it on another track. Now, again, I apologize for these samples. Like, I don't know why. You know, this is a minuscule little sound here. And the audio file, for some reason, has this monster tail on it. So the easiest way to do that is just to cut it down, right? I don't need all that extra. Same thing with this one. And I'm going to do it on the first 2 files here so that they've been shortened, okay? So now I'm going to do a little trick that just makes things sound interesting, where I do a little pattern here with different audio files, okay? So let's put that there. And also I'm going to pan these a little bit differently so that they have some variation, okay? And now I'm going to take these and copy this pattern, right? But I need to copy it every beat or every quarter note. I think actually I'm going to want to make this faster, but let's hear what we get. Okay? So that's not bad. Actually, I don't want it faster. I'm perfectly happy with that. So I'm going to drag these out and I'm off and running, right? I have my full, oops, I don't want to do that. I want my drum beat is pretty much finished. I mean, the only problem is this is only 4 bars, right? Your drum beat needs to be 8 bars at minimum. So it could be longer, but that's the basic idea, okay? So let's hear what this sounds like as a group now. Not bad, okay? Remember we talked about, you know, variation is really what's going to make this interesting. So I'm going to add actually a couple extra notes in here just to make this kind of a little bit faster here and there. And literally I'm just randomizing this. You know, hi-hats are one of the most common things to randomize because I can kind of make variation here and it just doesn't even matter where it is, honestly. Like, you're just going to hear now extra notes here and there. Okay, once again, I'm clipping. I might just need to drag these down, just the hi-hats down. Okay, but if I'm happy with the balance, remember, if I'm happy with the balance of the entire drum beat, then I probably need to drag all of these drums down, right? Get them below the clipping mark. Okay? So that's it. That is basically the concept. So, I'm just constructing this drum beat by using audio files. This is a very common way of doing drums in Logic or any DAW. In my music, just so you're aware, my tendency is actually to use kicks and hi-hats. Hi-hats tend to be MIDI instruments, okay? Or at least some sort of MIDI, it's a MIDI file. And the reason for that is that we want all this cool variation in hi-hats, velocity variations and volume variations, and that's easier to do with a MIDI note than it is for an audio file, okay? As you can imagine. So if I have an audio file, it's kind of a fixed thing. These are all the same sound. They're all the same volume. And I might want some more, I might want to just change it up. So, last thing I'm going to do too is I can add a couple of things on here just to make this more interesting. These reverse sounds are really cool. I'm going to drag one down here and just stick it at the very end of my 4-bar phrase. Okay, now I really want this to line up so this sound ends right at the end of the measure, right? So I'm lining up with beat 5 and having it end right at the end. The last thing too I'm going to do is just go over here and grab one of these synths. Now let's just pick one. Whoa, don't want that. That's a little nuts. So that one's not bad. Actually, let's choose this one as kind of a bass sound, all right? Now, this is a really, again, a long audio file. Let me see if I can change it up here a little bit or shorten it. I can, just some. I'm going to bring it down to here. And then, actually, what I want to do is have this repeat really quickly. So what I'm going to do is duplicate this track, and have these alternate. Do I want every 8th note? I think I do. I think I want it to be like this. There we go. So, listen to this now. Obviously, these are too loud. So you get the idea, right? I'm just using that as a synth. And, there's actually a lot of stuff I could do with this if I wanted to. I could do pitch changing so that the note went up and down, change to a different pitch here. I could use a sampler, which we're going to talk about really soon in this class, which makes using audio files way more flexible and useful. But anyway, so this is the general concept, right? So this is what I'm saying then. What I would do then is, say this is your first drum beat. Then you're going to go out here to bar 17 and do your second drum beat, right? Or wherever I started. Where did I go? Oh, it is 17. Oh, I don't want that. Let me put this at 17 and then go to measure 17. And then, literally down here, I'm going to add a new track, software, and maybe I'll go over here to electronic drums and pick a kit, right? And now I'm basically off and running at measure 17 to make a drum beat, right? So I can do whatever I want. Click in this, go down here. Not the most compelling thing you're ever going to hear. If I do this, I'm just doing something quickly, right? But I can drag all these, go to measure 19, and now I have my, and then obviously, remember we talked about splitting these into different instruments, but now I have my second drum beat, right? So your second drum beat is just later in the measure in the project, right? That's all. And you could even move your global track over here to measure 17, call this beat 2, right? And now I have these parsed out, but they're both on the same track, right? you know, I could add a synth in here if I wanted, like maybe I record something. Oh, that did not work. I forgot the keyboard. Let me turn this down. Tempo is going to be totally wrong here. I don't know why this is so low. Really bad. Oh, come on. I just need to move these onto the measures. So see how the measure 19 now. And this will go on measure 20. And then I will make this longer. Wait, is that right? Yeah, up to 21. I can actually also extend this from here. Okay. Okay, so remember, you do not have to create any sort of music. You don't need to add bass lines or guitars or anything. That's up to you. If you want to add a little extras, knock yourself out. But the real drum beat is what I'm asking for, right? The drum kit itself, the drum beats. Okay. So, anyways, hopefully this covers everything you need to know. If you have any questions, please send me an email. Because for group 1, which meets on Wednesday, this is still due on Sunday morning or Sunday night by midnight, right? So, you know, if you guys have any hang-ups or problems, just give me an email. Just to reiterate again, because I'm still getting projects like this, make sure you check these first 3 or 4 boxes. Honestly, yeah, anyways, just to make, especially what you really want is this audio files button selected, right? Because those audio files that I added to this project need to be added here. Lastly, I'm still getting projects that are called Project 1 or MIDI Assignment 5. I want your name in the project if you could. It makes it so much easier for me when I come to grading, because I'm still getting Audio Assignment 4, and then I don't know whose assignment that is, and I have to go look it up and find out. Okay, so please give your projects a unique name that matches your person. Okay? All right, I will talk to you soon.